Hello, welcome to E.G. and Friends. My name is Elden Killian, and today I'm presenting Happy New Games. Every game ranked from January 2022. Again, this is all of the games ranked that I played for this month. January 2022 is actually a very light month. Let's go ahead and get started with the venerable terribleness of Uno. Again, sometimes I play Uno with people who love to play Uno, who I also love. Uno ranked 21,862. If you've never played Uno, count yourself lucky. Yeah. If Uno looks like the type of game that would appeal to you, you are probably 8 years old. Next. 14th to 15th, my kids really begged me to buy this game, Llamas Unleashed. We were at the mall and looking for some time to kill, and this was a game that looked interesting to them, so we played it. I have actually played the other version of this called Llamas Unleashed. That's the name of this one. The horse one, Unstable Unicorns, I believe it's called. This game is almost identical. There are a couple of special cards that have a special rule that is a little bit different. Whether or not it makes it a better game, do you need one, not the other? Probably not. This is a game that appeals to you. You are probably 8 years old. Now, this is just one of those games where you're drawing cards, you're playing cards, and you're trying to get a full set or whatever. It's actually very much like Uno. I'd say those are the same weight of game. This one's a little more thematically fun, maybe. And it's kind of silly. All the llamas have kind of punny names and fun artwork. But as a game, it's just pretty lucky. Which leads me to my next game. We are talking about llamas again. So Llama, this is Reiner Knizia's from Amigo, and this was nominated for a Spiel des Jahres. Was the worst game nominated that year. I can't remember what the other two were, but this was by far the dark horse, and it did not win. I've played this game a fair number of times. I forgot to update that, but yeah, this is a game I play with my kids. I really enjoy it. It's in that same space that Uno lives in. This pretends to have a little bit of strategy, and maybe, I don't know. I really feel like the game, if you have a really good draw and you luckily choose the right strategy, you'll do well in this game. But yeah, I don't know. Llama, number 13 of 15 this month. And really, these are probably the only games. This is definitely the lower tier of the games. But we'll get into my next one. And I am not a huge fan of MicroMacro Crime City Full House. Again, I'm almost afraid to call this a game. It's more of an activity. But Johannes Sick, Pegasus Spiel brought this out. Very, it has a lot of accolades. It has a average rating of 8 on Board Game Geek. This is actually the follow-up, but from everything I understand, it's basically the same game. But there are these little cases, and you are trying to look on this huge Where's Waldo map and find the characters and try to follow them around the city and see what they did and figure out all the clues to solve the puzzle. I've only done a couple of them, and then I actually have lent this out to somebody, so I'm probably not going to play anytime soon. It is kind of ingenious. It is an interesting little activity. As far as the game goes, I don't know if I'm 100% sold on it as a game, but it was a good time for a few minutes. Number 11 this month was Fantasy Realms. I really enjoy Fantasy Realms. I haven't played it a ton, but every time I play it's kind of fun. This particular play of it, I was able to pull off the awesome strategy where you get all the low cards in a row with one card that makes it worth a bunch of points. And, which is hard to do, but I did it. And that was fun. And I think that's what's really cool about this game is that there are just lots of different ways to go at it and just trying to make those different combinations of cards and just trying to get that hand to where you want it to be. But yeah, Fantasy Realms, number 11 for this month. Number 10, Cross Clues. I am a huge fan of Just One, huge fan of So Clover, and other word games like that. This was a pretty solid game. In this one, you have this grid. It's either a 4x4 or 5x5, depending on how long of a game you want to play or how difficult. And then you have these cards that have those grid numbers on them. But there are words along the outside of the grid, and you are trying to give clues to get your teammates to know which cross section you are trying to get them to get at. So for example, you might have like cat and dog, and you might give a clue like pets. But like cat and dog go all the way across, all the way down, and so it might seem really obvious, but then you've but you can't use that clue again for the rest of the game. Depending on what other words are out there, it might not be a great clue. Anyway, yeah, this is really interesting. I don't hold this as in high of regard as So Clover and Just One and Codenames and those other games, Decrypto. But it was pretty fun. I want to play this a few more times, at least just to get another couple goes. But if you like games like this, it's probably not a bad pickup. It's not super expensive if you can find it. But yeah, Cross Clues. Number 9 for this month was number 9. I was thinking I'd skip number. Number 9 is Cora Quest. This is from Dan and Cora Hughes from across the pond. And if you don't know, Cora is a young girl. Dan is her dad, and they have a YouTube series. But during COVID, they were doing homeschooling, and one of Cora's projects was to make a board game, and they designed a board game and did all the stuff and took it to Kickstarter, where I gladly backed this. And it's an interesting game. It's definitely the positives. Definitely the best game I've ever played that was designed by someone who's less than 10 years old, by far. And the artwork is super cute. Just the one thing is this is probably not my type of game. Is almost in the same realm as like Gloomhaven, which I don't know if you caught up. I don't love, and I understand it's super popular. This is definitely like way more scaled down from Gloomhaven, but it's the same type of game. You're just running around the map and you're taking swings and trying to hit these guys and use your special powers to get the advantage in these fights. And but for what it does, it's pretty clever. The writing in the adventures is super funny. It's definitely like written with sensibility of a young kid and a goofy guy. And but yeah, I'm probably not going to be bringing this out a lot. I might end up gifting this to somebody who will love it more than I will, because I do think it's worthy of love. Has a pretty good rule book. Definitely there's a market out there for this game. I don't know if it's me, but I'll be honest, I like this game better than Gloomhaven. Less complicated for doing the same type of thing. But yeah, Cora Quest is my number 9 for this month. Number 8, if I can hit the button. Number 8, Tranquility. I played this a bunch of times solo. I have played it with some other players. But in this game, you are trying to get these numbers that are numbered these cards that are numbered 1 through 80 onto this grid of 6x6, 36 cards. But as you play cards, you can place them anywhere, but they have to go in ascending order. And if you play a card next to another card, you have to pay cards for the difference of what you played. So if you play like a 9 and a 10, you have to discard one of the cards from the game because you're one off. Now, if you did a 12 and a 9, you have to discard 3 cards. And so that game of discarding, knowing what you can discard to keep to the end, is interesting. My major criticism of this game would be, at least for the solo play with just the base game, it's almost too easy. It's too easy to just kind of keep track of what cards you've had and keep some protected cards so you can get them all out. I either won or was off by 1 card in every play of this solo on the base game. Now, the game does come with some little mini expansions, which definitely throw some loops into the game and make it a little bit harder. And that makes the game, frankly, a lot more interesting. And playing And when you play it with 2 or 3 players, or more players, I think it plays up to 4 or 5, maybe 4. I've only played it with 3. Solo and 3 is all I've played. And with 3 players, it's definitely harder to keep track of what cards are out there. And it's a like no communication game, so there's only a couple of points in the game where you're allowed to communicate with your teammates, and that definitely makes it difficult. But yeah, I definitely like this. If you like games like The Game or Okie Dokie or what are some other ones that are like this? The Mind, stuff like that. This is definitely not in your wheelhouse. I did really enjoy it. The cards are really pretty. The one thing I wish is there's all these cards they're supposed to put around the outside, and they have this exact same back as all the rest of the cards in the game. So like when you're trying to sort things out, it can be a little like adds another 30 seconds to the setup, which is just a tad annoying. But yeah, Tranquility, excellent game. I know they ran a Kickstarter recently with like the spiritual successor to this game, and I don't know anything about it besides that. But it definitely intrigued. I missed back in that Kickstarter, but I'll look forward to seeing that in the future. But number 8 for this month. Number 7, Savannah Park. Keeson and Kramer making a fantastic game. Capstone Games doing something a little lighter than most of the games in their catalog. But this one's really interesting, where you are putting out these tiles randomly out in your park, and then as you're playing with other players, you are calling out a tile, because everybody has the exact same tiles. You call it a tile, and everybody has to move that tile. Think something similar to like Tiny Towns, where you get a chance to dictate what's getting moved once every 2-3 turns, depending on how many people you're playing with. And yeah, it's really clever, really interesting. There are some reasons why you don't want to put certain things next to certain places on the board. You're trying to get contiguous sets of animals and get watering holes in with those sets, and trying to do that and score well is just a really clever puzzle. I really enjoy it. Top-notch production. Anyway, Savannah Park, my number 7 for the month of January. Number 6, Tabannusi, Builders of One play this solo, which they actually recommend not playing it solo until you've played it a few times, and I definitely can back that up. Since January and me recording this, I actually have played this once with 3 players, and I'm going to save those thoughts till next month because they'll end up in my February video. But I would say solo, this is maybe one of the more frustrating solo rule books I've ever read. There's so much flipping back and forth just trying to figure out, and it's probably why they tell you not to do it until you've played the base game a few times. I have some more thoughts on the base game. This is Daniel Tassini, who makes tons of games that I really, really like. And this T-Series, or it's just some of my favorite games. Early feelings on this, not nearly as good as Zolkin, not nearly as good as some of those other games. But not bad. Again, watch next month. I'll have some more thoughts about the game after I've played it a few more times. But Tabannusi, David Spada, Daniel Tassini, Board and Dice, who have last year they did Tekhenu and Tawantinsuyu. Both games I really enjoyed. Definitely in the same vein. But yeah, pretty good game. I definitely need to play it more to have more extended thoughts on it. But it's very complicated. There's lots of things going on. You're drafting these dice that dictate where you go for your next action, and you're doing these actions to build things up, to build up this city of and I don't know. Like a lot of these games, they're doing kind of the same thing, but they exist in how you execute your actions is where the game is, and it's interesting to say the least. But anyway, let's move on to the next one, and that's Rolling Realms, which I've only played solo. I've played it 24 times, and one reason I played it so many times was I went through the entire solo challenge, where it's sort of like a mini golf thing. So it has like a kind of a game setup that you try to do, and you try to see how many times it takes you to get the goal score in that setup. And I went through that entire thing over the course of 2 days, and which is so this may be my most played game of the month, but really good. I was kind of hesitant on getting it, and I just kind of got it because I wanted to buy something when it comes down to it. But I really enjoyed this. One thing about this game is I've only played it solo, but if you're playing with other players, it wouldn't change anything. There's not really any interactivity built into the game, and so it's just to see who does best with the die rolls. And so I don't know if I'm missing out by not playing with other players, and maybe I'll try it in the future. But I do really enjoy this game. Rolling Realms, 5 of 15 in the month of January. And number 4, Cartographer's Role Player Tale. I got the 3 new map packs, and I gave them all a go. This was all solo again. I did try all 3 maps. All 3 of them are interesting in their own way. They all add to the game. I don't know if it makes the game better or worse. But I play this game a ton on the app, even though I only have like 10 registered plays as of right now. But this game is so good. It's ranked 109 on Board Game Geek for a small game like this. That is just saying a whole lot. Fantastic game. The 3 map packs are really interesting. They add a handful of cards depending on which map pack that do different things, and some extra rules that go in it. The volcano one, where like there's just more of the board that's getting chewed up as you move along the game, is interesting. This island one that I have a picture of up there is really interesting because you have to go to the different islands, and it seems really tricky to do things, but you figure it out pretty quickly. That one's good. And then the other one, I wish I could remember the names. It's like I don't have them here in front of me, but anyway, all 3 of them are really good. If you enjoy the game, they're get them. I think there's 3 more map packs coming out later this year. I'll probably get those too. But yeah, Cartographers, my number 4 of the month. Number 3 is a game that I just keep playing, is Similo. And yeah, just one of my favorite little deduction games where you're trying to get other players to guess what the secret card is by giving them some very limited clues. It works well with young kids, old people. Works well in lots of different situations. You play with a big group. You can play it one-on-one. Yeah, as far as like deduction games go, this is just a fantastic one. I just heard news they're coming out with a Harry Potter version. Looking forward to that. Love the Harry Potter books and movies. And my family does too, so that'll be the auto buy for me. And it's cheap. You can get there's like I think there's 5 or 6 sets now, and they're like $6 or $7 on your favorite online retail store. If you want to buy it in store, it's probably about $10 probably is my guess. And tons of fun. Anyway, Similo, my number 3 for the month. And the number 2, Terraforming Mars. I haven't played this game in a long time, especially in person. I've played on the app a few times over the last couple years, but not super recently. But I had some friends who were really interested in it, and kind of newer to the hobby, and so we brought this out. I had a great time. This game delivers. I should probably play it a lot more than I do. I'm not super good at it, but it's definitely fun to play. I have a bunch of the expansions. Have not really touched them for whatever reason. I'm just not a big expansion person. But not my favorite game this month. My favorite game this month is a new to me game. I only played it once, and I don't own it. I'll probably end up buying it, or I'm going to have to get my buddy to bring it over and play it a bunch more because I really, really enjoyed it. I drug my feet on this. I've heard other people say it was fantastic. Everdell. Everdell is a great game. Only had the one play. But man, it does a lot of things right. It does that thing where you are trying to take your actions, and people kind of end their rounds at different times, which is always an interesting mechanism to me. The card play is super interesting, trying to set up your combos just right so you can do the right things, getting the right people in your town that will combo off each other, let you do more things. And you really think you start the game, you only have a couple of actions, like how's this? It's like in the rules, like you can only have 15 cards in front of you. It's like I have no idea how that's going to happen. But it does. As the game progresses, even though you don't have a ton of actions, there's a worker placement element to it, and you can only place those workers a handful of times, but there's other stuff that you can do and build off of that as you play cards that let you do some other stuff, and sometimes those cards combo off of others that let you get more cards. And yeah, I don't know, I really like it. There was a Kickstarter. You can get a late pledge in for the whole shebang for like $200 for some new content. And don't tell my wife. I might end up spending $200. But anyway, Everdell, fantastic game. My favorite game of the month of January 2022. A little late to the party, but definitely was worth it. And anyway, that's my month for this month. And so looking forward to an awesome month of February. I'm a little late recording this video. I'm already into February, and I've played some fantastic games so far. So next month I have some great games to talk about. And I have some game days coming up. So hopefully we'll get to play a bunch more. And yeah, anyway, that was my month. I'll see you next time. And I don't know, I need to come up with a tagline.
Where? I'm making a YouTube video, Bev.